On August 7, 2016, in a remote rural area near Scone, two unsuspecting pedestrians came across a disturbing sight. Hidden among the dense bushes, just a few feet from the road, was a shallow grave. What they found inside sent a chill down their spines. Human remains. Authorities swiftly arrived at the scene, sealing off the area as forensic experts began their meticulous examination. DNA testing and other forensic analyses soon confirmed the devastating truth. The remains belonged to Carly McBride, a mother of two from Belmont who had vanished without a trace on September 30th, 2014. Dear viewers, please don't forget to like, leave a comment under the video, and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. This is very important to us. Today, we will explore a real and chilling crime that happened to Carly McBride, who was born on April 14, 1983, to Steve McBride and Lorraine Williams in New South Wales, Australia. From an early age, Carly displayed an infectious energy, a vibrant personality, and an ever-present smile. She was a bright and outgoing child, forming strong bonds with her parents and those around her. She grew up in a loving household, but as she transitioned into adolescence and adulthood, she began to encounter difficulties that led her down a troubling path. As she entered her teenage years, Carly started facing personal struggles that began to shape the course of her life. She turned to alcohol and illegal substances, a decision that would eventually take a toll on her well-being. Despite these struggles, Carly showed incredible resilience and an enduring desire to overcome her addiction. She sought help multiple times, demonstrating her determination to regain control of her life. In 2013, at the age of 30, she made a significant step forward by checking herself into a rehabilitation center to combat her addiction. It was there that she met Sale Kenneth Newson, a man who would soon become an integral part of her life. What started as a casual friendship quickly blossomed into a deeper relationship, and by August 2014, Carly and Sale were nearly inseparable. By 2014, Carly was a 31-year-old mother of two young children, 7-year-old William and 3-year-old Cadence. She lived in Belmont, New South Wales, and was making efforts to rebuild her life for herself and her children. Though Carly and Sale's relationship had its ups and downs, outwardly, they appeared to be happy together. However, those close to Carly noted occasional conflicts between the couple, though nothing seemed out of the ordinary. On September 30, 2014, what seemed like an ordinary day soon took a tragic turn. Carly had planned to visit her daughter Cadence, who lived in Muswellbrook with her father, Andrew Easton. Sale agreed to drive Carly to Andrew's home, where she intended to spend a few hours with her child. At approximately 12:30 p.m., Sale dropped Carly off outside Andrew's house. As always, he expected Carly to call or text him to let him know she was okay and when she was ready to be picked up. However, that day, things played out differently. When Sale returned a few hours later to pick her up as planned, Carly was nowhere to be found. Andrew Easton claimed that he and Carly had an argument, leading her to leave his home on foot. According to Andrew, Carly told him she was heading to the nearest McDonald's, a 20-minute walk from his house. But something seemed amiss. Carly hadn't contacted Sale to inform him of her whereabouts, which was out of character. Concerned, Sale repeatedly tried to call her, but his calls went unanswered. Assuming her phone had died, he began driving toward McDonald's, keeping a watchful eye on the streets in hopes of spotting her. However, there was no sign of Carly anywhere. She wasn't at McDonald's or on any of the roads leading to it. As his worry deepened, Sale continued searching, driving through Muswellbrook streets, hoping to find Carly sitting on a bench, standing by the roadside, or walking in the direction of their home. But with each passing minute, it became clearer that she had disappeared without a trace. When she failed to return to their home in Belmont that evening, Sale knew something was wrong. He contacted the police to report her missing. Investigators quickly began piecing together the last known movements of Carly McBride. They questioned Sale, who recounted the usual routine of their visits to Cadence. It would be exactly the same thing every time, Sale explained. I would drop her off. She would get out of the car, go to the front door, pick up her daughter in her arms, and then turn around to wave me off. She would always call me twice and text me twice during every visit just to let me know she was okay. But that day, I dropped her off at about 12:30 p.m., and things were different. I never heard from her again. Not a single text, Not a single call. I tried to reach her, but her phone just went silent. Detectives then turned their focus to Andrew Easton, the last known person to see Carly McBride alive. Andrew initially told police that he and Carly had engaged in a heated argument that afternoon, which ultimately led to her storming out of his house on foot. According to him, she had intended to walk to a nearby McDonald's. However, this statement quickly came under scrutiny as investigators probed deeper into the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. A crucial question arose. Had Carly truly left Andrew's house that day, or was he deliberately withholding key details? While Andrew's version of events suggested she had willingly departed after their disagreement, there were no eyewitnesses to substantiate his claim. Not a single neighbor had seen her leaving, nor did any pedestrians or drivers recall spotting her along the supposed route to McDonald's. This inconsistency immediately raised a red flag. Determined to verify Andrew's account, police canvassed the area extensively, conducting interviews with residents, local businesses, and anyone who might have been in the vicinity that day. They also carefully examined all possible pathways she might have taken. Strangely, despite their diligent efforts, no one reported seeing Carly walking in the direction of the fast food restaurant, or anywhere else for that matter. The absence of sightings only deepened suspicions about Andrew's statement. Complicating matters further was the lack of surveillance footage. Investigators reviewed security camera recordings from homes, businesses, and traffic intersections along the route, but they found no evidence that Carly had ever been on foot in the area that day. Even more unsettling was the fact that Andrew's house was located in a section of town with limited security camera coverage, making it difficult to determine if Carly had left when he claimed she did. With growing doubts, investigators expanded their search to McDonald's itself, meticulously reviewing hours of surveillance footage from inside and around the restaurant. They were hoping to confirm whether Carly had arrived there at any point. However, after a painstaking analysis of the recordings, the results were conclusive. Carly never showed up. It was as if she had disappeared without a trace, her presence seemingly erased from the world the moment she stepped outside. With mounting concerns about Carly's whereabouts, authorities conducted a thorough search of the surrounding areas, including the fields and wooded patches behind a nearby residential area. Despite these exhaustive measures, no significant evidence was found to indicate where she had gone or what might have happened to her. A lead investigator on the case later stated, "At this stage, we haven't located any clear signs of foul play, but the circumstances of Carly's disappearance are deeply troubling. We are urging the public to come forward with any relevant information. If you saw Carly McBride that day, or if you have any knowledge regarding her movements, please contact law enforcement immediately." Carly McBride was last seen wearing blue jeans, sandals, a yellow t-shirt, and carrying a tan handbag. Her sudden and inexplicable vanishing left her family desperate for answers, and the police determined to uncover the truth. After securing a search warrant, law enforcement officials arrived at Andrew Easton's home, the last place Carly had been seen alive. A team of forensic experts and police officers meticulously examined the residence, combing through every room, surface, and object in hopes of uncovering a clue that could shed light on Carly's fate. They searched for signs of a struggle, traces of blood, or any other physical evidence that might suggest foul play. However, despite their thorough efforts, nothing immediately stood out. There were no apparent signs of violence, no overturned furniture, no broken glass, no items out of place that hinted at a confrontation gone wrong. Yet the lack of physical evidence did not mean there was no cause for suspicion. As investigators dug deeper, they stumbled upon a troubling digital trail. Carly's Facebook account had been mysteriously deleted just hours after she went missing, before her disappearance had even been reported. This disturbing revelation posed serious questions. Had Carly deleted her own account, or had someone else accessed it? Was this merely a strange coincidence, or was it an intentional act designed to erase digital evidence of a crime? Police immediately pursued this lead, theorizing that Carly's social media activity could hold critical clues. Investigators speculated that her Facebook messages might contain significant information, perhaps conversations with someone who knew what had happened to her, or messages revealing a conflict, a secret meeting, or a distress signal sent in desperation. Determined to retrieve the missing data, authorities reached out to the U.S. Department of Justice, requesting assistance in recovering Carly's deleted social media interactions and identifying who had accessed her account last. Since Facebook's data analysis and security operations were headquartered in Menlo Park, California, officials believed this approach could yield crucial leads. Sergeant Wright, a senior detective on the case, underscored the importance of digital evidence. "We are particularly concerned about the timing of Carly's Facebook account deletion. It is highly suspicious and could be a key factor in understanding what happened to her. We are appealing to anyone who may have interacted with Carly online before her disappearance. If you exchanged messages with her, noticed anything unusual, or came across suspicious activity on her profile, please come forward. Any detail, no matter how small, could be the missing piece we need," said Sergeant Wright. Many said that she simply decided to leave and start a new life. Carly's family and friends strongly refuted any suggestion that she had voluntarily vanished to start a new life. Her close friend and flatmate Kylie Smith vividly recalled her last conversation with Carly as she traveled to Muswellbrook. "She was so down to earth. I would call her a free spirit. She was easygoing and she just loved life," Kylie said. "She was the kind of person who always knew if you were having a bad day and would check in with you. She cared deeply about her friends and family. The idea that she would just disappear without a trace, it doesn't make sense." Kylie made an emotional plea to the public, urging anyone with information to come forward. "We wake up every day not knowing what happened, not knowing where she is," she said. "Someone out there knows something. You have to have a conscience. Please, come forward with any news, no matter how small. Just give us something." The police conducted exhaustive searches of the area where Carly had last been seen. Search teams used trained dogs to scour the surroundings. Police divers meticulously examined the depths of the Hunter River, and aerial surveillance combined with trail bike patrols covered vast stretches of terrain. Yet, despite these extensive efforts, no trace of Carly was found. As weeks turned into months, the lack of new evidence caused frustration and heartbreak. Carly's digital footprint remained eerily silent. Her phone was never turned on again. Her social media accounts showed no activity, and she hadn't accessed her bank accounts. Investigators began to fear the worst, that Carly McBride was no longer alive. 9 months passed without answers, and yet, Carly's parents refused to give up hope. Steve McBride and Lorraine Williams continued their relentless search for their missing daughter, appealing to the public for any information. They were joined by Detective Timothy Seymour, who encouraged citizens to come forward with even the smallest pieces of information that might assist in the case. During an emotional public appeal, Carly's mother, Lorraine, fought back tears as she begged for answers. "Our family is suffering. We just need to know what happened to our daughter." The impact of Carly's disappearance had deeply affected her family, with Steve McBride describing the emotional and logistical difficulties they faced. "We are coping the best we can," he said. "As for Carly's children, it's a complex situation. Both of her kids have different fathers, and unfortunately, we haven't had as much contact with them as we'd like. We just hope that changes so we can be more present in their lives." Detective Inspector Timothy Seymour assured the public that the case remained a priority and that law enforcement officers had worked tirelessly to find the missing woman. "We have a plethora of information that we are sorting through. However, we are still appealing for more help," Inspector Seymour stated. As time passed, Carly's parents began to accept the harrowing reality that they might never see their beloved daughter alive again. The pain of uncertainty weighed heavily on their hearts, and Lorraine, Carly's mother, put her pain into words in a deeply emotional letter addressed to the man responsible for her daughter's abduction. "I don't believe there is a single soul who does not now know what happened to my bub, or hasn't sensed the pain we are living with every single day. They will never again feel her soft, reassuring kisses, or be wrapped in her warm, comforting hugs. They will never hear that big, contagious belly laugh or see her radiant, loving smile. Their memories are fading, lost in the passage of time, and they never had the chance to say goodbye. The pain, the anguish, the frustration. We wake up every day with our hearts burdened by the hope that today might be the day we receive a call. The call that tells us they have found my girl. This is my only wish, that find my daughter, that we can finally lay her to rest." Despite their best efforts, police were unable to establish any direct link between Carly's disappearance and her ex-partner Andrew Easton. With Easton seemingly ruled out, investigators turned their attention to another potential suspect, Sale Newson, Carly's boyfriend at the time of her disappearance. The deeper they dug into their relationship, the more they uncovered troubling details that painted a picture far removed from the loving partnership Newson claimed to have had with Carly. Although Newson publicly professed deep love and devotion for Carly, describing her as the first woman he had truly loved in 14 years, their relationship was marred by jealousy and frequent arguments. Investigators learned that Newson was intensely possessive, and his insecurities often led to heated disputes. 2 days before Carly went missing, they had fought over Facebook messages she allegedly received from other men. To the public, Newson presented himself as a distraught and inconsolable partner, tirelessly searching for Carly. He launched a Facebook page, participated in awareness campaigns, offered financial rewards for information, and knocked on doors in the area where she was last seen. But beneath this facade, his actions told a different story. Within hours of reporting Carly missing, Newson communicated with several women. Just 2 days after her disappearance, on October 2, he spent the night with another woman. His actions directly contradicted his public display of grief, raising further suspicions. But while these details painted an unflattering picture of Newson's character, they remained circumstantial. The police needed direct evidence to bring formal charges against him. Determined to find answers, authorities intensified their investigation. In April 2015, police conducted searches at 3 different properties, one in Muswellbrook and 2 in Scone, a town located approximately 15 miles from Muswellbrook in the Upper Hunter Shire. During these searches, officers seized 3 firearms and an undisclosed quantity of illegal substances. A 24-year-old man named James Canine was arrested in connection with the seized items. Although the police clarified that the charges against Canine were unrelated to Carly's case, the fact that his name surfaced during the investigation raised questions. Could he have had some connection to her disappearance? Or was it merely an unrelated coincidence? The case remained at a frustrating standstill. Nearly 2 years passed with no significant breakthroughs. Carly's family continued to suffer, their agony only worsening with time. Detectives remained committed to the case but had no fresh leads, until an unexpected discovery changed everything. On August 7, 2016, in a remote rural area near Scone, 2 pedestrians made a grim and unsettling discovery. As they walked along a secluded path, their eyes caught sight of something unusual. A shallow grave partially concealed among dense bushes, mere feet away from the roadside. Curiosity quickly turned to horror as they realized what lay within. Inside the shallow pit were human remains, their presence masked by time and the elements. Authorities rushed to the scene, their arrival marking the beginning of what would become a complex and emotionally charged investigation. Forensic experts meticulously combed through the site, collecting every trace of evidence that might shed light on the identity of the deceased. Their analysis soon delivered devastating confirmation. The remains belonged to Carly McBride, the young mother of 2 from Belmont who had vanished without a trace nearly 2 years prior, on September 30, 2014. Law enforcement officers, aware of the gravity of this breakthrough, made a calculated decision to withhold the announcement for 4 days. They hoped that by delaying the public revelation, they could gather additional crucial evidence before alerting potential suspects. Once they were confident in their preliminary findings, Intendant Guyana addressed the gathered press outside the Scone police station. His solemn expression reflected the weight of the investigation. "We do not believe that this was a random act," he declared firmly. "Carly's disappearance and murder were not coincidental. We are thoroughly examining her past, her acquaintances, and every individual who may have played a role in the tragic events that led to her death." Despite the bold statement, Intendant Guyana remained cautious. He refrained from naming any suspects, reiterating that while the discovery was a major milestone, the investigation was still in its early stages. Detectives continued to work tirelessly, piecing together a puzzle that had remained unsolved for far too long. For the lead investigator on the case, the breakthrough was the result of years of relentless determination and unwavering commitment. It has taken us 2 years to reach this point, and we now have an extensive and compelling volume of fresh evidence that demands careful examination, he stated during a press briefing. Over the past 2 years, our dedicated team has spared no effort in uncovering the truth behind Carly's disappearance. We are determined to solve this case and bring closure to her family. The new evidence we've obtained is substantial, and while it will take time to process and analyze, we are already making significant progress. Carly's devastated parents, Steve McBride and Lorraine Williams, stood before the cameras, their anguish palpable. Although the discovery of Carly's remains provided her family with a painful semblance of closure, the wound left by her loss remained raw. They were grateful for the unwavering support from law enforcement and the community, yet the lingering question of who was responsible for their daughter's brutal death tormented them. The grief was overwhelming, but their resolve to see justice served only strengthened with time. For nearly 10 months, detectives meticulously sifted through the growing collection of evidence. Their tireless efforts culminated in a decisive moment. An arrest warrant was issued for Sale Newson. On June 19, 2017, law enforcement officers moved swiftly to apprehend him. As Newson was taken into custody and escorted to the station for questioning, he remained steadfast in his denial. He insisted he had no involvement in Carly McBride's tragic death. But Newson was not the only individual under scrutiny. Authorities soon uncovered new leads pointing to 26-year-old James Canine, whom they suspected of assisting Newson in disposing of Carly's body. Canine was subsequently arrested and charged as an accessory after the fact. Investigators uncovered a significant connection between the 3 individuals, Carly McBride, Sale Newson, and James Canine, who had all crossed paths at a rehabilitation center dedicated to treating alcohol and substance addiction. Although their time at the facility had overlapped only briefly, their connection had extended beyond those walls. Even after their respective departures, they had remained in contact, leading police to suspect that Canine may have played a more active role in the crime than initially assumed. As the case moved toward trial, prosecutors faced a formidable challenge. The circumstantial nature of the evidence meant that proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt would require meticulous argumentation and forensic expertise. The trial of Sale Newson officially commenced in August 2018, but the proceedings were anything but swift. Legal delays, procedural complications, and the intricacies of the evidence stretched the case over several years. The prosecution painted a chilling narrative. On the night of Carly's disappearance, they alleged, Newson had arranged to meet with her shortly after she left her ex-partner's home. Driven by jealousy and rage, he launched a brutal attack, repeatedly striking Carly with unrelenting force. The violence left her with catastrophic injuries before she ultimately succumbed to her wounds. Her body was then transported to the remote location. Forensic specialists provided damning testimony, confirming that Carly McBride's cause of death was extensive blunt force trauma. The injuries she sustained were horrifying in their severity. She had suffered 23 fractures to her skull, 13 fractures to her torso, and multiple breaks along her spine and ribs. The presiding judge, upon reviewing the evidence, remarked on the sheer brutality of the attack, describing it as an act of incomprehensible violence. During police interrogations, Newson had boasted about his experience as a mixed martial artist. "My main sport was Thai boxing," he had told investigators. "I had 20 fights and 20 wins. I trained with world champions, but by the time I got really good, I was too old." The court found this statement particularly chilling, given the nature of Carly's fatal injuries. While executing a search warrant at Newson's residence, investigators unearthed a crucial piece of evidence hidden in a shoebox beneath his bed, a hand-drawn map. The map had a circled area encompassing both Muswellbrook and Scone, the very region where Carly's remains were later discovered. Additionally, the map featured 3 numbered locations, with Senior Constable Mohini testifying that 2 of these numbers corresponded to the locations of point-to-point surveillance cameras. Following the discovery of Carly's remains in 2016, Newson made a shocking and revealing phone call to her father, Steve McBride. During this conversation, he mentioned that Carly's skeleton was missing hand bones, an unsettling detail that had never been publicly disclosed by authorities. At the time, only a limited number of individuals had access to this information. The police, Carly's parents, and forensic specialists at the John Hunter Hospital. Investigators became convinced that Newson's knowledge of this fact indicated his direct familiarity with the crime scene, reinforcing their belief that he was responsible for dumping Carly's body in the isolated location where it was eventually found 2 years later. Further reinforcing suspicions, forensic evidence confirmed that the clothes found on Carly's remains matched the ones she had been wearing on the day she went missing. This suggested that she had been killed shortly after leaving her former partner's house, eliminating any possibility that she had disappeared voluntarily. However, key personal belongings, including Carly's purse and mobile phone, were never recovered. Authorities uncovered additional damning evidence while analyzing Newson's digital footprint. When forensic experts examined his mobile phone, they discovered that he had deliberately erased location services data from September 18 to October 2, 2014, a period that spanned Carly's disappearance and its immediate aftermath. Investigators also learned that a photograph of Carly, which Newson had taken while driving her to Muswellbrook, had been altered before it was used in missing person flyers. This suggested a premeditated effort to manipulate details surrounding her last moments. When the search for Carly McBride began, Sale Newson made a public show of offering a $20,000 reward for any information leading to her whereabouts. However, a thorough examination of his financial records revealed that he was, in fact, broke, making it evident that his reward offer was nothing more than an empty gesture. Investigators concluded that he had only made the offer because he knew no one would ever find her, thus ensuring he would never have to pay. From the very start, Newson actively inserted himself into the police investigation, attempting to deflect suspicion onto others while simultaneously gathering information about the movements and strategies of law enforcement. He persistently questioned authorities about where they intended to search next, monitored emergency services activities, and canvassed the surrounding neighborhoods, supposedly looking for CCTV footage or witnesses. However, police became convinced that his true intent was not to aid in the investigation, but to suppress any information that might incriminate him. Authorities believed he was attempting to determine whether anyone had seen him intercept Carly McBride that fateful day. While teams of volunteers and dedicated police officers scoured Muswellbrook, distributing missing person flyers and desperately searching for any trace of Carly, Newson was hundreds of miles away in Sydney. Rather than showing genuine concern for his missing girlfriend, he was instead bragging to friends via text messages about driving an Audi R8. His lack of urgency and apparent detachment from the search efforts only deepened suspicions about his involvement in Carly's disappearance. Another chilling revelation surfaced when Newson confidently claimed to know the exact location where Carly's remains had been found. He described the area in remarkable detail to Carly's father, Steve McBride. However, investigators had deliberately set up a fake crime scene to mislead the media and the public, further confirming that Newson possessed information that only the perpetrator could have known. The deeper investigators probed into Newson's past, the more they unraveled a disturbing pattern of deceit. His online search history painted an alarming picture, as forensic experts discovered that he had specifically searched for information on how to delete a Facebook account. Curiously, his own account remained active while Carly's had been mysteriously deleted shortly after she vanished. This digital footprint, though circumstantial, became another crucial puzzle piece in the prosecution's growing case against him. Despite lacking direct physical evidence, the prosecution methodically pieced together an irrefutable narrative built upon circumstantial evidence. They asserted that Newson, upon picking Carly up from Muswellbrook, became enraged when he learned that she had spent approximately 90 minutes alone with her ex-partner instead of spending time with her daughter as planned. This revelation, driven by his unchecked jealousy, allegedly led him to launch a brutal, unplanned attack on Carly. Forensic reports later confirmed the sheer brutality of the assault. Carly had suffered 23 skull fractures, 13 fractures to her torso, and multiple spinal and rib fractures. The judge concluded that the magnitude of her injuries left no doubt. She had endured an extended and violent beating before succumbing to her wounds. As the trial progressed, Carly's devastated mother, Lorraine Williams, delivered a heartbreaking statement at Newson's sentencing hearing. Through tears, she recounted the torment of waiting for her daughter's return, clinging to hope for 2 agonizing years, only to be met with the horrific reality of identifying her remains in the morgue. Carly should be here, living her life with her children, her sister, her father, and me. Lorraine wept. After today, I never want to hear, speak, or see the man who took my beautiful daughter's life ever again. He no longer has any power to hurt me, and I refuse to waste another moment thinking about him. I will miss Carly for the rest of my life, every second of every day. Nearly 7 years after he first reported Carly missing, 43-year-old Sale Newson was found guilty in December 2021. The judge handed down a severe sentence, 27 years in prison, with parole eligibility in 2038. Yet even in the face of overwhelming evidence, Newson defiantly proclaimed his innocence. In a final plea, he turned to the judge and restated his claims. "I understand the verdict has been given," he said. "Your Honor, I'm innocent. From the moment I reported Carly missing to this very day, I have complied with the police, the courts, and the jails. I have been found guilty of a crime I did not commit. Someone else is responsible for this crime, not me. Now I have a long battle ahead of me to try and clear my name through the courts." In addition to Newson's conviction, his accomplice, James Canine, was also brought to justice. Investigators determined that Canine played a direct role in covering up Carly's murder. In July 2022, a jury found Canine guilty of aiding Newson in the disposal of Carly's remains. The prosecution revealed that Canine had repeatedly lied during 3 separate police interrogations, fabricating alibis to shield Newson from suspicion. He had also erased data from his phone to eliminate incriminating evidence. Despite the gravity of his crimes, Canine exhibited little reaction when, in November 2022, the court sentenced him to 7.5 years in prison, with a parole eligibility period of 4 years. His detached demeanor only added to the heartbreak felt by Carly's grieving family, who had endured years of torment in search of justice. Following the trial's conclusion, Carly's parents reflected on the painful reality that, no matter the verdict, no amount of justice would ever bring their beloved daughter back.